This is the story that I tell. This is the story that I tell. And look, I wasn't a coke head. I have friends that are coke heads. I mean, my coke use was probably, it was over a couple years, maybe once every few months. Maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year. But then there was a point over about 3 weeks, or maybe 6 weeks, I don't know, where it had escalated. It was just kind of like once a week, and then it was like 2 or 3 times a week, you know? I mean, I'm pissed. Sometimes I'm like, fuck, I wish I never even got to smoke crack. You know, I don't want to be a crackhead, but fuck. You know, I'll take a hit or two just to see, you know, what everybody's talking about. Down at the bus, down at the Greyhound, you know? But since then, you know, in this program I've learned, like, you know, I don't feel as alone as I used to. I'm learning to have different feelings about myself. Different ways to think about myself. I don't feel as alone as I used to. And it's a program of action though, like I have to work and I have to like go to, you know, some of these meetings. And I go to the meetings, man, it's so funny that God used, or my higher power, people say higher power, God, whatever. You know, I believe in God, I believe in God. You know, it's so much out here in like this business I'm in, they try to like make me feel like it's not cool to do that, but I'm not gonna feel that way. Because I need that. You know, in the program too, that, you know, the AA, it's cool because it's not about the drugs and alcohol, man. You know, I never liked drinking. You know, I was never a pothead. I just started to see like, oh man, if you'd have asked me one day, will you go to this great opportunity you have on this radio station with one of the biggest radio shows in the world, will you go on that fucked up? I'd have said, no way. And then here I was doing something that I wouldn't have done. But that's when I realized, like, I wasn't even doing things that I really wanted to be doing. I don't feel as alone as I used to. I'm learning to have different feelings about myself. Different ways to think about myself. I don't feel as alone as I used to. Sometimes I don't even want to admit that. You know, there's something inside of me sometimes that wants to make me separate from other people, you know? There's something that wants to make me alone. Because it's part of the only way that I ever knew how to be.